Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We are live on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and we are here for another fabulous part of our Big Burnout Conversation Week. I have got two guests that are about to pop onto our live stage in a moment. They are real life superheroes. We may dig into that a little bit with them as we go through this afternoon. But these guys they run challenges. They do incredible work to help all of their clients and all of their network and community to banish burnout, which you will know I am hugely passionate about. These two do it with like bells. I was going to say bells, and they don't. They do it with superhero costumes on in the most phenomenal way. And this afternoon we're going to try and cram in 3 topics that these two are going to come and talk to us about. If you have got questions, pop them in the comments section. We're going to answer as much as we can. This is a conversation. We want to make it as free-flowing and as two-way as possible. So if you've got questions for my fabulous guests this afternoon, pop them in the comments. We're going to get them answered to you. I am going to bring onto the stage the one and only fabulous Laura and Barry Ash. Hey!
Hello, lovely to see you.
And you, I want to say a huge thank you for getting involved with this. I know Laura and I have had maybe some like fangirl moments on kind of our LinkedIn, because we seem to be posting the same stuff on the same days, right? It's like, oh, I've just posted that. Oh, I've just posted that. So Laura and I somewhere are kind of joining a brain cell in terms of the ideas that we talk about. We've had some fabulous conversations. Barry, this is the first time that you and I have kind of met in person. Yes. If you like, on the screen. So thank you very much for getting involved. Are you both okay? You said just before we came on air, you've both got snow.
Yes. Yeah, we've got, it's like a white Christmas out there.
Yeah.
White Christmas. There we go. And I'm, for those of you that watch me often, I'm in the flat Fenlands. We've got nothing. It's cold, but we've got nothing. So we shall see. So before we dive in, I know you've got 3 things that we want to kind of try and focus on this afternoon. We want to cram as much of this in as possible so that we can make sure that all of the viewers and or listeners get as much as they want out of this conversation. But just give us a little bit of background about what the two of you do, why burnout is important, and maybe some references to all of those superheroes that you've got behind you.
Yeah, exactly. So first of all, Kelly, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure. And I'm so glad that we managed to hook up on LinkedIn. So yeah, I'm Laura Ash. This is Barry. We're husband and wife. We've been together for 22 years. So if there's a bit of bickering, then that's okay, right? We're all
okay.
No problem. So I'm actually a former police officer and counter-terrorism intelligence officer. And I was medically retired back in 2013 because I have a diagnosis of bipolar and OCD. And then 5 years into running our business, 2017, I hit burnout and we almost lost the business. And so for me, it's really important that I don't want anyone else to be in that situation. And we really, for me, I don't know about you, Barry, but I really want people to connect with who they are rather than just the job role that they do. We can sometimes get lost and then we don't live a fulfilling life. So that's kind of like a little snippet about me. Go on then, Baz, beat that.
Beat that, the challenge is
set. No pressure.
We're very competitive.
What you tend to find is there's always a competition. If I do 3 minutes in an ice bath, Loz has to do 4 minutes in an ice bath. So there's always competitions going on. But my background has always been in health and wellbeing. About 30 years now I've spent in the health industry. So I started off at a local leisure centre. I worked my way up to deputy manager there. Then I had a sort of career change and I joined the prison service. So I spent the first 3 years walking the landings, doing sort of general running of the wings, but I still had that burning desire to do health, do well-being. And within the prison service, I was fairly lucky because I could specialise as a PTI, so physical training instructor. So I spent the next 7 years in the gymnasium, heading up the well-being team at in the jail I worked at, and I was teaching all the prisoners to become personal trainers, health coaches, and so forth. And then after 7 years, Loz got medically retired and we set up Rock Solid. And I had that decision to make. That it was a big decision for me because I was on like 35 grand a year and it was like really settled in the job. And do I leave and go back to nothing and earning nothing? And we don't know where it's going. It's a scary time. So I booked the billet.
with the beef.
I took the bite and I went with it, and I just said, let's see where this goes, see where the journey goes. And I started off looking at body transformation because it's all about the big arms and the big chest, the skinny waist. But nothing really changed. You could change how your body looked, but the energy within inside us and how we felt about ourselves, it never really did any different by changing the body. So this is where I come along about with the energy management, changing how we think and how we feel inside of us.
Yeah.
And that is the game changer. If we can change our energy and manage our energy, we can change the way we live our lives.
Absolutely. So let's go on to that then. So this is one of my favorite topics. And again, I think Laura and I have written, again, I suppose from our own personal experience and our own words, but I think a lot of the time when we're kind of posting about energy management versus time management, we tend to do it on the same days, and it's like, oh, I've just done that. Yeah, me too. And they're long posts, so I know that we're not just like copy and pasting each other. It's literally kind of where we are on the day. So talk to us then about energy management. What does it mean? If you were like, if I knew nothing about this whatsoever, what's the difference? Why should I be managing my energy? How's it going to help me to be happier, healthier? How's it going to help me to kind of prevent burnout?
Yeah. Do you want me to go?
You can go first, yeah.
No, if you want to go first, you can.
No.
Oh, thanks.
Age before beauty.
Oh, you are so really.
He's trying to get some back now, Laura. He's trying to get some back.
So the way that I look at it is, we are personally, I believe that we are energy beings, and I'm not being woo there. It's the way that we are. You walk into a room, you feel the energy from somebody that's depressed. You feel the energy from somebody that's excited. It's palpable, and we only have so much energy. And it's the whole adage of, when you go to bed at night, you plug your phone in, right? And a lot of us are not conserving our energy. We're not, looking after energy because we literally just spend. Get up, check your emails, go to work, don't have a lunch break, work in the afternoon, come home, have a crappy meal, and then, work in the evening, have a rubbish night's sleep. That is using all of your energy in a way that you're not going to be replenished. If you are using your energy and, really being able to do things that fill your cup up, for your soul, for, your fulfillment, that is how we start to manage your energy better. Your quality of work will be better. Your quality of life will be better. That's just a very small take on how I would see it.
I see our energy is a massive correlation to our resilience as well.
Mm-hmm.
When we are full of energy, we are running on all cylinders. We're feeling good about ourselves. When crap comes into our lives, we can deal with it so much better. And I'll always say, when we are feeling low, when we're feeling negative, any decision we make from that point of view is always going to be a bad decision. It's always going to be a negative outcome from that. And when we can raise our energy levels and work from that higher being and that higher energy levels, any decision we make is going to be a brilliant decision. So just by managing our energy levels, our decision making increases and our resilience to the world around us is a better way anyway. So we've got to take on board about how we're feeling. And it's not just about taking caffeine or taking a tablet to make ourselves feel better. We've got to do the internal work to make the external work much better.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think, to your point, Laura, that you said about the kind of energy beings, like I think, because you use the kind of phone analogy, and I hear so many people talking about the fact that, we need to plug ourselves in, or we need to recharge, or that we're machines, the body is a great machine. And I think actually, if we can look at ourselves a bit more as nature, and kind of nature cycles are cycles that we go through the course of every day, what nature does to replenish, what happens at the course of the year. I've mentioned I live in, kind of Fenland farming. Like nothing's happening on the fields at the moment, because this is the time of year where it is about the rest period to then prepare for the rest of the year. And so often, don't we think that we've just got to go full on all day, all the time. And as you said, right, we're eating into those reserves constantly. What are we then doing to recharge? That tends to be when we're reaching for the caffeine, the energy drinks, the alcohol, right? All of those, kind of sugars, all of those things, because we think that's going to give us the boost that we need, not recognizing that whilst it might give us that interim boost, it's probably also going to give us a crash at the other end. So how can we kind of so there's the kind of, how do we manage some of that? Like, what would some of the natural energy things be that we could do to replenish ourselves from your guys' perspective?
Yeah, I'm just touching on that quickly, Kelly, there. Like, a lot of us will use caffeine or, these sorts of stimulants. But if you're already in fight or flight, that's just going to make it even worse. It's just that you don't understand what's going on, what we call underneath the hood. So underneath the bonnet, do you know what I mean, of the car. So the way to be able to, manage your energy, a lot of people would think I need to manage my time. I need to have time slots to do this, time slots to do that. But I don't know about you. I've done that before and I've planned so diligently, like my next 5 minutes and this and that. But the problem is it's all work focused. It's never us focused.
Yeah.
And so for me, one of the most simplest things to be able to manage our energy is to have solid morning and evening routines where we're actually doing something to slow down, whether it's slowing down our brain waves, whether it's slowing down our breath, whether it's doing a little bit of a hobby that we enjoy so that we're not just work mode all the time. We need to have that creative side. A lot of our clients will say, do you know what? I picked up my colouring again, or I picked up my story writing again. I'm like, yes, because your body's craving that. Stop going fight and flight, flow into that rest and digest in that autonomic nervous system. So that's kind of like something for me, definitely.
For me, definitely look at your sleep. It's not just the quantity of sleep. You got to look at your quality of sleep, your bedroom hygiene, but also something quite simple. Look out your window. Get some sunlight on your body. Don't dress up for Superman just because I love it. I'm a bit like Superman. I need my sunlight to give me my energy. It's so
amazing. And talk to us about sleep, because again, a lot of people that are in my regular community anyway, I'm always banging on about sleep, and I think some of them are like, what? So just talk to us. Why is sleep so important? What does that do to help us?
Sleep is our first pillar. Whenever we're working with our clients, the first thing we do is let's look at your sleep, because it's our time for our body to regenerate. It's the time for our body to mend. It's time for our brain to get washed and get rid of all of the crap that's been brought up over the day. And it's where our body needs to be to re-energize it, to get rid of all the waste products going on.
I mean, I know personally for me, as you know, I was diagnosed with bipolar, and for me, sleep is a number one fundamental. If I don't get my sleep,
my life's bad.
Your life is bad, right? Absolutely.
We're talking about that on Wednesday, everybody. We'll come back to talk about all the personal stuff. But I'm exactly the same. And again, Laura, I live with bipolar. If my sleep goes, everything else is out the window. Doesn't matter what else there is, it's out the window. And like you, Barry, my other half is like, will you just go and get some sleep? And I don't need to, right? Because then I kind of switched on, I'm wired and I'm ready to go. And he's like, sleep. I'm like, ah.
But also, if we think about it, when we enter deep sleep, that's when our body repairs, but it's also when our immune system repairs. And a lot of people that I'll speak to will be getting constantly sick, but also this anxiety. So as we go through the day, we have this chemical build up in our body, or hormone called adenosine, right? And that builds up in our body. And at night, our brain actually goes through a chemical wash. It actually shrinks, it goes through a wash. And if we're not getting adequate sleep, that adenosine doesn't go, and that can then leave you with feelings of anxiety, within your body when you wake up in the morning. And if you're already anxious, and then you're getting anxious about feeling anxious, and you're worried you're going to have a panic attack, it's going to exacerbate it. So for us, sleep is our number one fundamental. A lot of people will struggle to sleep at night, and they focus only on the fact they can't sleep at night. And that's just a symptom of what's going on in the rest of your day. It's kind of like the clue that you need to sort your stuff out in the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And then I suppose on that, so again, I talk a lot about the kind of cycles, because we can talk about the importance of sleep, right? But ultimately, if my stress levels are rising, or if I'm at that point of burnout, or if I'm trying to come through it, it's likely that the first thing that will be impacted will have been my sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. So from your perspective, what advice do you give to clients? What do you kind of do yourselves to, like you said, to help you go through that kind of wash at night, to make sure that you're in the right place? Because it's one of those, isn't it? It's easy for us to sit and say we know the consequences if we don't go through it,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how do we get ourselves into a state where we can have a great night's sleep if we're already in
Yeah.
that kind of fight or flight mode?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is to understand how important sleep is,
Mhm.
because a lot of us will say, especially when we are high flying business people, we're really driven. I sleep when I'm dead. I can get my rest at the weekend, but catching up on sleep at the weekend, it's never a good thing. Just by missing one night of quality sleep has a massive impact on my. So I think the first thing we need to do is just understand how important sleep really is.
Yeah.
And then, as Loz spoke about earlier on, set up a PM routine. So we can actually train our body and our mind to say, right, this is the bedtime routine. And when we start doing these routines, we can start settling down, and our brain will actually, this is the time I need to go to sleep. And we're starting to educate it, right? We do this, we do this, we do that, then we go to sleep.
Yeah.
So more of a practical approach. If you think about mental, physical and emotional health when you're going to sleep. So for mental health, for me, it would be like, make sure that you have almost your to-do list nailed down. You have things scheduled in, so you know, right, that isn't going to happen till next Monday. I don't need to worry about that. You've written it down.
Yeah.
So that's your mental. Your physical, we need to calm the autonomic nervous system. So let's do some breath work, right? Really simple, really easy. And then for our mind and that emotional side of things, I want people to write down a couple of journal prompts. I don't have to. And then you just write all of, I don't have to, and then write down 3 things that you've done today and why you're proud of. And the reason we focus on that is because when we go to bed at night, we're often focused on all the things that we haven't done or the things we've got to do.
Yeah.
So let's program our mind. We call it the night watchman. So when we go to bed at night, we tell our subconscious what we want to think about, and they take over. So if you're saying to them all the things you haven't done or the things you got to do, your night crew are like, right, that's what we're focusing on tonight. Let's keep her awake with that. Whereas if you talk to your night crew and you say to them about the things that you have done, the stuff that you're proud of, they'll go, oh, that's what we're focused on tonight. So we tell our subconscious what we need to do.
Yeah. And how much do you think of the work that you do with your clients is about almost kind of, I want to say, unlearning or reprogramming that subconscious? Because lots of us automatically think, and again, it's taken me a long time to kind of realize this, but like sometimes our brains get it wrong, right? The fact that they want to keep telling us push harder, push harder, push harder is not what we want to hear, right? We've got to do some of that unlearning. Barry, as you said, kind of, sleep when I'm dead, I'll rest at the week. Like it annoys me so much when I hear like, no, right? If we want to be productive and sustainable and happy and healthy, right, we need these daily habits in place. We've got to be making sure that we do all of these things. So I suppose how much of what you do is about that kind of reprogramming to get us to think and act differently, knowing that we have the kind of ownership of that ourselves?
I would say it's a good 80-20 split. And here's very why. I see a lot of people online doing symptom-based stuff. I'll do the journaling, I'll, do the exercise, I'll eat the food, I get my sleep in. Great. Have you changed the narrative as to why you're where you are, the reason why you can't say no, the reason why you feel that you need to work so much, the reason why you believe that I'm the only one that can do this and that you feel you need to be in control all the time? Because those sorts of narratives are going back to even when you were at school, when you didn't get the grades or you did get the grades or you felt you needed to please mum or dad or whatever. So we're going all the way back with this stuff, and no amount of symptom stuff, that's just like pruning the tree, is ever going to solve the root as to what are your drivers in terms of why you're doing the behavior you're doing that's led you to burnout.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But all the things that we're doing that's caused the burnout, it's worked before. It's got us to where we are at this moment in time. Yeah. So it's like a lot of people, well, it worked for me before, so I'll just do the same again. But the thing is, what you've done is only gotten you so far, and now you're hitting burnout.
Yeah.
It will not take you any further than that. You're just going to keep hitting burnout. So we need to rewrite this story and the thought patterns we've got in our brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a lot of the clients that I talk to, I think Laura and I had this conversation when we first spoke. It was like, so many people like want to go back to like their pre-burnout self, because that person was, you know, amazing and energetic and did all of this. So I've been there, right? You know, I just want to be my pre-burnout self again. And as you said, it is then, okay, that was great, but ultimately those parts of you, some of those parts of you, or maybe all of them, got you to that point of burnout in the first place. So actually, let's take the useful stuff, right? Let's get rid of the stuff that's not working and replace that with something that's healthier. Let's make sure that we're kind of moving in the right direction. So yeah, so that's amazing to hear. That's amazing to hear. And we've got Barry and Laura's website is flashing across the bottom of the screen. You've got all of this stuff kind of outlined on there anyway, haven't you, in terms of the stuff that you do. You, again, as I said, you do some kind of challenges, and there's all sorts of stuff that kind of people can look out for and get involved in.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to our website, go to Work With Us and Energize Leadership. That's our main program. But also check out like my LinkedIn and our Instagram, which is Rock Solid UK, because we're always talking about stuff on there. We're releasing an ebook tomorrow on my birthday. And
so it's like, we'll get that linked for you on our Big Burnout conversation.
But yeah, so you know, we've always got stuff going on. I mean, it's my own personal mission, Kelly, for my client to say burnout was the best thing that happened to me, right? And I know they'll all get there, and you know, we've had a few already get there. And whenever we first work with people, they're like, oh, I don't think I'll ever see that. And I'm like, just you wait and see. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it's an amazing you know, time for rediscovery and rebuilding yourself as a stronger person and actually starting to find yourself again. So that's how I see it. I see it anyway.
Yeah. Can I just ask you on that before we kind of move on to the next thing that we want to talk about this afternoon? But from that point, I'm exactly the same, right? I think there is a lot that we can do once we've got to that point. It has to open our eyes, right? There was something that was happening. We need to do that rediscovery, the unlearning. It gives us that huge like eureka moment of, oh my God, like I didn't realize I could do this stuff. If you could get to that space without having the physical and potentially long-lasting impact of the burnout, would you choose to still go through the burnout to come through the other side? Or would you want that, if you could have exactly the same discovery without the burnout, what would you choose?
I definitely have to go through the burnout. Sometimes, you know, I've got people I'm speaking to in the DMs at the moment, and, you know, they're doing all the bits, and part of me is like, you've got to go through this, I think, in order to come out the other side. But what we've got to remember is, again, that's a mindset. Like the body is amazing at healing itself.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're broken or I don't work anymore, my body's this. It's like, no, you just work in a different way. Embrace it. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think you can go, as you say, experience it without going through it. I think you have to go through. Me personally, I haven't been through burnout, but I've been next to somebody who's been through it, and it's not pleasant, and it's like going through that broken glass. You know you're going to get cut, you know you're going to get hurt through going through it, but when you come out the other side, your body will mend, but you're going to be so much more resilient, so much stronger, so much wiser, and those ripples that you cause from going through it and coming outside are going to just keep expanding, and everybody you come in contact with, whether it's your work colleagues, your family, your friends, you're going to impart some amazing skill sets to them as well.
Yeah, and we've all got our own journeys that we've got to go on. You know, we've all got our own journeys. We've all got our own stories. And, you know, John Lennon said, if it's not okay, it's not the end, because everything will always be all right in the end.
Yeah, love that. Thank you. There we go. There's a quote for everybody. If you've got questions for Laura or Barry, get them typing in the posts for us. Okay, so you kind of started to touch on this one. So talk to us then about this kind of symptoms versus root cause stuff.
Yeah, we see it a lot with people who will just focus on the symptoms. They'll, you know, maybe they'll address their sleep, or they'll get a PT, or they'll clear up their eating, and as I say, or they'll take a pill. And I have to say, great, bloody amazing. But that's probably about 20% of the pie, because I will speak to the same people the following year and they'll be in the same situation. Do you know what I mean? Because they've just, what I call And, you know, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I think it's very gallant, but it's more of a tick box. I've done that. I've done that. I've done that. They haven't invested in a transformation of themselves. It's more of a, I need to do this. I need to do that. Another thing you tick off your sheet. Invest in a transformation and understand why you're in the situation that you're in, and do that reprogramming.
And there's one word that always comes up to me is responsibility.
Yeah.
You've got to take that responsibility to do the work. And it's not just taking a pill or going to bed a little bit earlier. You've got to start looking inside of you. What is causing this? Am I working too much? Am I thinking this way? Am I doing that X, Y, and Z? And you've got to do the inner work, the inner. And sometimes that inner game, you've got to be resilient, and you've got to be honest with yourself to say, wow, that's what's going wrong here, and I've got to address that. And you've got to be brave. And it is a brave person who does the inner work. But when you do the inner work, oh my God, life can be amazing then.
And that's the stuff that's not the easy fix, isn't it? You know, the deep inner work. Again, you know, for everybody that's been following me like forever, I came out of like my first burnout. Didn't really want anything to do with burnout. You know, I decided that clearly the organization I was in wasn't right for me. Set up my own business, everything was going great. Got a phone call that literally had said, and again, Laura will know this, some of our regular watchers will know, but I then received a phone call that said that my replacement had died whilst away on a leadership development program. And that was my, like, what's going on? I then received a call that said, like, I hadn't been the first person to become ill. This was what was happening. So I then kind of threw myself into all of the things that, you know, I wanted to learn everything about stress. I wanted to learn everything about burnout. I wanted to learn everything about our body, threw myself into all of that stuff. And as you said, was doing this tick box, right? Because if I do all of these things are going to help me to reduce my stress and to stop me going into a second burnout, and to stop this happening and stop that happening. 2 years later, I'm in like a second burnout, because whilst I had learned it from a textbook exercise, learned it from all the books and all of the courses, and I was helping people come through it, I hadn't done the really deep work on myself, because first and foremost, actually, I didn't realize that I needed to do it, because it was just, I was feeling a bit better, so off we go. And I think, again, for those of us that have gone through the cycle more than once, I think that's a really kind of telling thing, right? Because we don't know, which is why these conversations for me are really, really important, because we have to show and talk about the fact that this inner work needs doing. But yeah, I was stressing myself out even more with this list of like 15 things I was going to do every day to decrease my stress. And then I'm stressing more about these tick boxes that I need to tick off every day. End up in burnout number 2 and was like, oh, right, now I've got to do the really deep work. And I've literally been doing that ever since 2015. Like that, it doesn't stop.
No.
It's not easy. Sometimes I just like, there's nothing else I want to know about myself now, right? I'm done. I've had enough. I've done all of that stuff. But doesn't it? And what I think once we've started it is the ongoing stuff that we need to do. There isn't, as you said, right, Barry, we can't just take a pill and everything's going to be all right for us tomorrow.
No. And it's so true. And I think it's understanding that narrative that you have in your head when you're feeling bad and you're feeling low and you've got that negative talk. It's being able to come out of it. I like it as we coming out of our body and you're listening to the conversation. Yeah. And then when we listen to it from a third point of view, then we can start taking action on it. And it is a daily task. It is every day. You wake up and then the voice is talking and it's telling you all these positive or negative things, and you've got to listen to it and take the action required to move you on the path forward to healthier, happier person.
Yeah. So with the people that come to you, so let's say I come to you, I've had a conversation, I just think I need to fix my sleep, right? Just need to fix my sleep, or I just want to be doing a bit more exercise. Do you, if again, with the clients that you work with, is it ever just, I need to just fix that one thing and everything else falls into place? Or do you tend to find that your clients need to do a lot more of that deep inner work in order to kind of fix it? So how, again, does that work with the kind of symptoms and causes stuff?
Yeah, so we'll always get someone to do the burnout self-assessment, because that will help them to look at the different 3 areas of where they're coming from, and those questions ask a little bit deeper as well. But then I'll also ask them, a lot of symptom-based stuff too, in terms of mental or physical or emotional burnout. So, okay, your sleep's not great. Why is your sleep not great then? And then we'll just end up having this oh, well, work's really busy. Okay, why is work really busy? Okay, when was the last time you remembered having a big belly laugh with snot bubbles or whatever it is? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you just start to dig through. I mean, don't get me wrong. We'll have people come to us because we also do health. So Baz will do PT, we write programs, that kind of stuff. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it is actually, you just need to be told what to do in terms of turn up, train, and that's it, because that's what is needed for you. I would say that's a very small percentage.
And what sort of so with your what did you call it, burnout self-assessment, did you call it that? Yeah. So with that, what kind of symptoms might be coming up for people? So if we were getting close to burnout, what sort of symptoms might come up that they'd need to be dealing with?
So if you're looking at more kind of mental burnout, that's when we're a little bit judgmental, we're snapping at people, we find we're quite angry, those kind of things. When we're looking at more emotional, it is questioning yourself, double checking when you used to be really confident, bursting into tears, maybe feeling like you're not any good at your job and you're looking for another job. When it comes to physical, you might be looking at things like headaches, weight gain, getting takeouts more and more. Do you know what I mean? Having aches and pains. You used to love exercise, but now you absolutely hate it and you can't find the energy to kind of go and do it. So we kind of look across a broad spectrum of what might be going on for people. And, some people are like, I don't know, 40, 50% across the board, but some people you will find, if someone comes to me and they're more struggling with anxiety and depression, emotional burnout will be like, bam, it's right there. You can see it. And a lot of people will, be surprised maybe that they're struggling with mental burnout, where they're quite negative, which is one people don't really like to admit to. However, I admit I do go into the judgmental negative space from time to time. Yes. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's kind of like, that's how we would deal with it. Does that answer your question, Kelly?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And then on that, again, you know how much I hate it, but the World Health Organization definition of burnout, where it's basically just, I've lost the words now because I hate it so much, but basically it's a workplace phenomenon, right? It's just a workplace phenomenon. You've talked there about mental, emotional, physical. Now, if we were just purely looking at that World Health Organization definition, saying it's a workplace phenomenon because all of us are just working too hard and therefore we're getting to the point of burnout, do you find that corresponds with the stuff that you're doing, or do you think burnout is much broader than a workplace phenomenon, that just because we're all working a little bit too much?
It's a massive subject. It's massive, broader than just work, because when you go to work, 9 to 5, then you come home, and it plays a massive part of when you're at home as well, with your loved ones and your family and your friends. It seeps in. It's that stone in the puddle, and the ripples keep going.
Yeah.
So it may be the work that's the catalyst for it, but it doesn't just start and stop with work. We have to take it across the broader spectrum and bring it into people's home and their personal life too.
I have a different definition of burnout. And for me, it's because we don't spend doing enough time of the things that we love with the people that we love.
Yeah.
And that could work for a stay-at-home mum, stay-at-home dad. It worked for everybody, because you often you lose yourself, and you just become a role or a number, a label.
Yeah. And again, I think that's a really important point. And in my book, Mind the Gap, that I wrote about my burnout story, for me, exactly as you said there, Laura, it is that like losing who we are. For me, it genuinely is like the bigger the gap between who we are, like who we really truly are, and who we are presenting at or being at or pretending at. Like the bigger the gap that becomes, the bigger the gap that we create for burnout to fill, right? It's that for me, it is, I'm with you on that one. It's about who we are, not necessarily what it is that we're doing. Yes. But ultimately, I think, and I'm sure both of you could probably agree with this from a personal perspective, from a professional perspective, with the work that you're doing with clients, ultimately the reason that some of us push so hard is because we're not being true to ourselves, right? If we're trying to be the people pleaser or the perfectionist or whatever, that's because something is, you know, we're missing something in ourselves, right? That's the stuff that we need to be working on. So again, as you're saying, in terms of kind of symptoms versus cause, it's some of that stuff, right?
Yeah, but also the fact that, I mean, and I have only just recently discovered this, the fact that we'll work to, you know, mask our feelings because we don't know how to express ourselves emotionally, because no one's ever taught us that.
Yeah.
Because it's all been about work, get your grades, that kind of thing. But a lot of people use work as a distraction. So they can't process their emotions. And then that goes sideways. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And as you said, that then starts to become that kind of pebble, doesn't it? That creates all of those ripples. Because again, if you are spending all of your time doing the work, not being with loved ones, not doing the exercise, not doing all of the things that kind of light you up or make you feel good, then of course it becomes more stressful, because you're not going right back to where we were talking about. You're not doing the things that recharge you enough in the first place to give you the energy, because you're putting everything into your work. And there we end up with this, you know, kind of the vicious cycle of burnout, don't we? That it becomes kind of ever playing.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason Barry and I will do the superhero stuff, which we'll probably talk about on Wednesday a bit more, you know, because it gives us that level of fulfillment. It takes us out of the business. We get in our creativity, we give him back, you know. And so, you know, that's part of the reason why we kind of do that as well. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it. So finally, then, before we let you go, we were going to talk about these 3 dimensions.
Yes.
So talk to us about that. What do you mean by it? How do you kind of include it in your work?
So the way that we'll do the burnout self-assessment, it was Christina Maslach who, you know, discovered these 3 dimensions of burnout. They did a study, and the study really was to how they would get people back into work, you know, using psychology. And, you know, we've kind of basically picked that up and made it our own. So, you know, you've got mental, physical, and emotional. So mental is cynicism, emotional is powerlessness, and physical is exhaustion. And we will work with people to identify which area you're struggling with right now. That's what we deal with. Because otherwise you're like, I've got all these symptoms. How do we deal with them? Right. If you are feeling mental exhaustion, mental burnout, you go and do journaling, because we need to change your inner narrative, and we work on thought management. If you're struggling with emotional, then we need to have a look at why you find it guilty to take the time to spend for yourself. We'll look at meditation, we'll look at breath work. If it's physical, right, we need to look at boundaries, we need to look at how you're nourishing your body, you know, how you're moving it. And we work within our 6 pillars of health and well-being, you know, which we've used as well to kind of look after my mental health and everything. So for us, that's how we decipher, like, you know, they do the burnout self-assessment, and then when they join us, we do module 1. And module 1, they dig deeper and they get to really see, actually, I am really struggling with mental burnout. Okay, go and do these modules then, and let's, you know, see how they go and, you know, how it's feeling. But it's a very much an intuitive process of them vis us and what we're hearing, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah, love that. And you mentioned particularly around cynicism.
Mm-hmm.
Why does that come up so much?
Oh, I love cynicism. It's brilliant. A lot of people won't want to admit to this one because we're negative, we're judgmental, we're getting angry, we're snapping easily, and none of us want to, you know, think that we are, you know, angry and grumpy and moody and judging people.
The thing is with this one, you got to look at yourself, take responsibility here.
Yeah.
Because how many people are feeling snappy, grumpy, and it's all their fault? It's all their people out there. Hey, they've done this to me, they've done that to me. No, they're not. You're interpreting it one way and then you're giving back. So this is why it's a bit of a
trick.
Because you got to take ownership.
I'll have a lot of people come to me and they will whinge and moan about their job. Naturally, get it. And I always say to them, I'm not a mediator. I can't tell you how to deal with your boss or how your boss needs to deal with you. But what I can do is I can help you to be able to look at the situation differently. because no matter how thinly you slice a bit of bread, there's always two sides to it. That's what you always say, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how are you approaching things? What's your inner narrative? Because your thoughts have just gone toxic, you know, around what's going on.
Yeah. And as you said, it's that responsibility, it's the accountability, it's the self-awareness, it's all of that, because it is easier to blame everybody else, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
It's your fault this happened to me, it's your fault this happened. Because actually, if I could just stop you being a pain in the arse, then there's nothing wrong with me, right? That's the way that we look at it, isn't it?
Yeah, and like, sorry.
But I was going to say also, when we're blaming other people, how much energy are we expelling by trying to change somebody else's way of life, their beliefs, and the way they're saying things? Because you're never ever going to change someone's beliefs and values.
Yeah.
They've got to change themselves.
Yeah, totally. I mean, one of the very I say kind of very basic, but I think one of the very basic things that I've used it throughout my I'm going to say over 20 years now, literally, is that kind of circles of control. Like, what can you control? What can you influence? What do you have no control or influence over? And always in that outside, like, is literally other people's actions, behaviors, thoughts, all of that kind of stuff, right? There's bugger all I can do about it.
Yeah.
And as you said, from a cynicism point of view, particularly if we get to that point of burnout, that I can, as you mentioned, and I see it with my clients and can imagine it myself, it takes a lot to say, I played that part.
Yes, huge. You know, like, I'll have people come to me and they'll say, right, I'm going to leave my job. I'm like, great. Let's not make sure you take that energy with the next job then. Because that's what's going to happen. That's going to be your story. And it's the story you're always going to tell about that company. And then something's going to happen in this company. And then this will be your narrative. It's like, there has to be some sort of intervention in that inner narrative. And
absolutely.
I know this is difficult to hear. It is.
Yeah. No, again, I'd put a post up between Christmas and New Year, because particularly for the HR sector, which, you know, kind of 25 years really for me, but within that sector, between Christmas and New Year is usually the time where like all of the HR, I think probably all of the sector start looking at new jobs, right? Even if they're not going to apply, it's just, you know, salary changes or any of that sort of stuff between Christmas and New Year break. And so during that time, again, I'd put a similar post out, right? You might be looking for a new job this time of year, but you need to do the work on yourself before you move, because otherwise you are doing exactly the same, right? You're taking yourself, which may be the issue, into as many jobs as you kind of jump into after that, right? You have to do the work on yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, go for it.
It's one of those, we call them those, oh shit moments, when you realize you've been doing it, or it's you. It's like, oh,
you tame that down a little bit.
I know, I did.
I was expecting something else. Yeah, well done, Laura.
I always say to them, have you had an old shit moment? They're like, yes, I've just had one. And I'm like, good for you.
Yeah, but we need them, right? We absolutely need them. So for the two of you, if you are seeing, I don't know, somebody's coming to you with some of the symptoms, what would you be saying to anybody? So to listeners this week, right, we want to be having these conversations to help us to banish burnout. So if we're, from your perspective, if you've come through it and you want to get, you know, have those kind of real light bulb moments and all of that energy and amazing stuff that you've talked about, what would be your kind of final kind of thoughts, either the kind of hints or tips that people would need to take on board following this conversation today?
Yeah,
I think the first thing we need to do is just stop what you're doing. Take a breath. Because when we're in the fight or flight, we're not going to make any good decisions. Like I spoke about before, when we're feeling negative and bad about ourselves, all comes from its negative and bad stuff. So stop, take a breath. And then if you want to reach out to somebody and have a discussion, open discussion with no attachments to any emotions or any old past or anything like that, just stop, breathe, have a conversation.
I would say, so we got something called the direct arrow method, which I've used with the bipolar and, you know, with burnout, and we use it now with our guys. And I take the first two steps. So the first step is accept and acknowledge. So accept and acknowledge where you are without judgment. Okay, so important, without judgment. You know, some of the most passionate, intelligent people I know have been burnt out. It's not weak. So accept and acknowledge. And then C is to create massive awareness. So just ask yourself, why do I think I'm here? What's the behavior that's driving this? And again, without judgment, right? And then, reach out to somebody, speak to somebody, whether it's a professional or a friend that you can trust, yeah, that's definitely what I would say.
Amazing. Thank you. I think you two have become my new best friends. I'm like, yes. This is why we're on the same page though, right? This is why we've connected, because it's like
brilliant.
Yes,
exactly. I love it. I love it.
Yes, amazing. So as we said, we've got your website going across the bottom here. So rocksolidhealth.co.uk. Laura, you're very, very active on LinkedIn, aren't you, in terms of all of the stuff that you're putting out there?
Yes.
So give Laura a follow on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You said you've got your Instagram as well.
Yes, Rock Solid UK. Come and join us over there. We release a lot more reels. We have a lot more techniques over there, and you'll be able to kind of just catch up on what we're doing daily. Because I think I think it's really important. I want my clients and the people that we work with to be able to trust us and know that we've got them. So we show ourselves a bit more there.
Amazing. Thank you.
It's not about what we're just talking about. You can actually see that we implement these in a day. We live our life.
Living and breathing it, right? In order to bring it to life. Amazing. Thank you both so much. So I'm going to say thank you very much. If you do have questions for Laura or Barry at any point this week, drop them again. They're going to be back with us. I think it's Wednesday afternoon. Michelle's going to be hosting it. We're going to talk more about the personal side. So actually your personal experience of burnout. Barry, from your perspective, how it impacts you and the two of you and all of those things. So we're going to be talking about all of that on Wednesday. Laura's mentioned their happy birthday, so huge happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I could be back to back doing much more of these, but again, as we said, so there will be, watch out for the new ebook that's coming out tomorrow, right? Make Laura's birthday amazing, even more amazing, by making sure that you access their ebook. Laura, I'm assuming you'll be putting that out on your LinkedIn somewhere.
Yes, I've already scheduled the post already.
There we go. So she's taken the day off because it's her birthday. So the post is scheduled and ready to go. So do connect with Laura, check out her LinkedIn page. Make sure you get that. And Laura, if you want to send us the link over, we'll include that into all of the links of this video on all of the pages and stuff as well, so that we get everybody over there for you. But I'm going to say thank you so much for being such incredible.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been amazing.
I could have spoken to you both for hours. But again, I'm trying to limit the time that we do talk so that we can get as many of these conversations in as possible. But do check out Laura and Barry if you want to find out more about them. Go and check out all of their superhero posts. Give them a follow on Instagram. Get the ebook tomorrow. Wish Laura a happy birthday tomorrow. Guys, I'm going to say thank you very much. Cheers. I will see you. Well, I won't see you Wednesday, but I will be behind the scenes on Wednesday.
Love it.
We'll see it all from there. So thanks to everybody that was watching or listening on replay or whatever else. We'll be back for a full day of Big Burnout conversations with you again tomorrow. Take care for now, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Bye.